Hi everyone, I just want to make a quick video having to do with planning a photogrammetry mission using UGCS and the DJI M300 with the P1 sensor. And let's get started. So when you open up UGCS, you have to just make sure in your profile for the M300. So if I go to the profiles, M300, and my DJI Matrice 300 RTK, make sure within the payloads you add in that P1. If it's not in there, you can go through and click edit, click add, and then you click on it and add that sensor to it. Since I have it in there, I'm just going to save, and then we're good to go on this. So now I'm going to go back, and we're going to go through and plan a mission over this area over here. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to go to this left side right here, click add new route. Let's name this something generic, so P1 mission, and then we hit next. We'll select the DJI Matrice M300 because that's what we're flying. Hit next again, and then you'll come up to this menu right here. I have my settings set to something kind of ridiculous. More or less, it allows me to get things a little settled and how I like to fly it. I do monitor it completely. I just want to be able to plan the mission most of the times and get the data I need, especially when I pre-plan. It's not going to let me do a lot of these things if I set, like 100 meter above ground level kind of thing. So for these, I'm just going to leave them as it is. You can have it take into account aerodome zones and custom zones. I'll just uncheck those for now. Action on loss of RC is home, so it should come home if it loses connection, and my trajectory type is going to just be straight. So what's going to do is after it's done with the mission, it's going to come straight home. So I'll hit OK. I'm going to go through and hit the X right here because I don't want to create another waypoint. What I want to do is create a photogrammetry mission. So I'll go on the left side right here, click on the photogrammetry tool. With the Matrice 300 and the P1 sensor, the greatest things about these are you can fly it pretty high and still maintain a good ground sampling distance, in addition to be able to fly it really, really fast. So what we're going to do is we're going to plan this mission. I'm going to use some generic numbers that I use. So right now I'm going to go through and change my flight speed to 15 meters a second. I want to make sure adaptive bank turn is going to be on. And right here under camera, I want to make sure that the DJI ZenMuse P1 is selected. My ground sampling distance is going to be 1 centimeter. And then in general for forward and side overlap, you kind of want to stay above 70, but I'll leave it at 80. You want the camera facing forward. So what that means is the top of the camera is always going to be facing forward. That way it means that the drone is always going to be moving in a forward motion. Direction angle, that just changes which way the flight lines are going to be. I want it to avoid obstacles. I want it to execute the actions at start. I usually don't do additional waypoints, and I usually leave the overshoot. I usually don't really put anything in for the overshoot. My altitude is always going to be at ground level, and my tolerance, I'll leave it at the default 3. For no actions at last waypoint, so for the most part is when it gets done with the mission, it's not going to do anything. So to start planning the mission, we're going to go through and we're going to double click, double click, double click, double click, double click, double click, and then you right click to finish the command. Once the command is finished, you'll go through and start planning the mission. As you can see, there's some elevation change because it does pull from SRT M30 data. So it does automatically do terrain following, which is definitely the biggest benefit. One thing to note though is you have to always make sure that the actions down here, you have to set camera distance and you select it auto. That way it'll use the parameters set, the preset parameters for the P1. It'll use that to set when it triggers the camera. The other thing that you will need to do is click on this button right here where it says set camera altitude, zoom, or attitude and zoom. You hit that, and you have to make sure in tilt you do 90 degrees. What that does is it ensures and tells UGCS and the drone that when it comes to the flight altitude, it will tilt that camera down 90 degrees in order for you to take those photos. If you want to get more obliques, you can change it to 45 and it'll tilt it to 45 degrees. But for general mapping, we're going to stick with 90 degrees. So once you do that, it plans the mission again for you. And then if you want to check a few things, you can go to parameters. You can go show elevation, and in show elevation you can see how far it's going to fly, how long the mission is going to be, how many waypoints it's going to go. The minimum altitude it's going to be is 77 meters above ground level. The maximum altitude it's going to be is 82 meters above ground level. This can change because when you use the photogrammetry tool, it plans it by ground sampling distance. So if you change it, so if I change it to, I want a higher ground sampling distance, so I'll do 1.50, hit enter. It's going to go through, recalculate the flight plan, and now it says, you know, it's going to take a different amount of time to fly, and it's going to have to fly higher to get that ground sampling distance. But because this is at 122 meters, it's a bit higher than we should be flying, so I'm going to change that to go back down to 1 for my ground sampling distance. Once that is done, the mission is planned. We're going to go through and upload it to our controller. So what we do here is make sure everything's connected, and then you'll see this upload button right here. We're going to click upload, and then we want it to start from the beginning of the mission. We'll hit OK, and now the mission is being uploaded to our controller. How UGCS works is the controller and the computer have to be on the same network, and that's how UGCS talks to the controller and uploads the information. You cannot plan your missions on the controller. Everything actually has to be done via the desktop, then uploaded to the controller. Then you can set or download the missions directly to your controller locally. So when you get out in the field, if you don't have a laptop or you don't have a network and you're offline, you can fly your pre-planned missions off of your controller without needing a laptop. But if you need to change anything, you have to have a laptop in order to change anything and re-upload that mission. So now that the mission's uploaded, we can go to the controller and I can show you quickly what it looks like. Alright guys, so after we hit upload on the screen of the desktop app, you're going to see that the mission gets uploaded onto the controller like this. And then to go through, you can either go through and have the unit take off. So if you look in the bottom center, you have the little up arrow. So if you press that one, it is going to take off and fly the mission. If you click 3 buttons on the side, if you are connected to the network with your laptop, you can go open out server, and then you can, I have it downloaded as on the controller already, but if you click 3 dots, you can hit make available offline. Then what it's going to do is it's going to save that mission onto the controller. So when you go back in here, you can go to open route, you can hit local, and if we click this guy right here, you can hit that, and then it'll open up the mission. So this mission is saved locally, so if you don't have a connection to your laptop, you can still open this up and fly the mission. You just can't change anything on the controller. So that's pretty much planning a mission with the P1, loading it onto the controller, and then saving it locally on the controller too. If you have any questions, you can feel free to email me at jeremiah@frontierprecision.com, or you can give me a call at 763-760-0850. Thank you, and hopefully this helped you out.